Hi, my name is Melanie Bosley. I'm 20 years old. I'm a theater major at college and I'm a business minor. I'll be graduating college in December, which is a year and a half early. I'm also a singer-songwriter and I hope to be a full-time songwriter in Nashville, Tennessee when I graduate. I also have celiac disease. In the latest book that I read, which is Jennifer's Way, written by Jennifer Esposito herself, she recounts her story with celiac disease and her journey with doctors and how she got to her diagnosis and how she's living now. This book was more relatable for me than I hoped it would be. It was kind of scary because everything that Jennifer said in this book is something that I've experienced. Now, she's a little older than me, so she's experienced it to a more extreme degree than I have. But it was so amazing to get to hear this book and read it and listen to what she had to say and know that I'm not the only person that has gone through this. Long story short, how I got my diagnosis was I've been sick my whole life, so it's, 20 years. My earliest childhood memories are throwing up at my grandparents' house on Christmas Day, where my mom is holding my hair back and my grandpa is holding a trash can. We have sparkling memories. Also, the sickness just continued. I'd be sick all the time. I'd throw up in the morning and then I'd go to school because I went to school, and then I came back home and I'd be hungry, so I'd eat and eat and eat all night until I'd finally just go to sleep, and then the cycle would continue over and over again. Finally, when I was 13 years old, my parents and I decided to go to a children's hospital in Kansas City, and I got a scope done to see if they could find anything wrong, see what was going on. And at that point, I was diagnosed with eosinophilic gastroenteritis. And for those of you that don't know, eosinophilic gastroenteritis is an abundance, like a huge abundance of white blood cells in your small intestine. And they didn't know much about it, and they didn't tell me much about it, except for it would make me get more sick than the kids at school, and I would stay sick for longer than them. And they tried to put me on a medicine, but it didn't work, and so their final choice was I would have to learn how to live with it. So I did, and it continued, these cycles continued of being sick. I ended up getting incredibly intense migraines in high school, but no medicine could help, and I'd just be tired and sick all the time, always. And then I went away to college, and I go to college 2 hours away from my hometown, and so I'd go home like every weekend, and then I drive back early on Monday mornings before my first class, and every single Monday morning before my first class, as I was driving back to school, I would have to pull over on the side of the road and get sick somewhere because my stomach just couldn't handle anything. It was turning against itself, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse. So I do that every Monday morning, and finally I just got tired of having to learn to live with it, like the doctor said. So this past winter break, I went back home to that same hospital, that same doctor, and I said, listen, something's not right. And at this time I had learned that I had not felt so great when I ate bread products, so I had avoided it, and I started to avoid gluten thinking it was just an issue. So they decided to test me for celiac disease, and I got the biopsy done, and there were issues with it, and it was a mess, but the final diagnosis was that I had celiac disease. And as scary as it is, I guess I should explain, celiac disease is an autoimmune disorder where the lining of your intestine, which are the villi, which are like hairy things that stick up, and they're what absorb the nutrients. Whenever you eat gluten or products that contain gluten or anything like it, the villi flatten themselves out, and you can't absorb nutrients anymore, which is what makes you sick, and it gives you all sorts of different symptoms, and everyone is different. But it was scary to get this diagnosis because it's like, you don't want to have celiac disease. That's not something you want. That's not something anyone chooses. But I was so thankful to finally have an answer. And I think that's something that Jennifer says extremely well in her book, is that it could be worse. It's bad, and don't get me wrong, don't pretend that it's not bad, because it's bad. But everyone's story is different, and everything is different for everyone, and I don't know. I just love this book so much, and I think that everyone should read it. Again, it's Jennifer's Way by Jennifer Esposito. She's amazing. But I think everyone, no matter if you have the symptoms, think you might have celiac disease, do have celiac disease, know someone with celiac disease, anything, I think everyone should read it, because it just opened my eyes to, that's very cliche, but it brought me the new idea that this is what this disease is, and this is what we have to deal with, and this is what I have to learn how to deal with, what Jennifer is dealing with beautifully. And we all have to be pioneers in a sort of advocating this disease and making sure that it's not a joke for people, because I know people at my school who say that they can't eat gluten, but then they go and they eat all the pasta and all the pizza and everything. But it's not a joke, and I think Jennifer explains that so well. In this book, it felt like my book. It felt like my life in a book, and it was... I just thank you so much to Jennifer for writing this, because you made me feel less alone with this disease, and you made me feel like I can do it. I can take a deep breath and fix my life before it gets any worse and take charge of my health. So thank you, Jennifer, for that. And also, just everyone who sees this or anything, I strongly urge you to read this book. 5 out of 5, 10 stars plus. It's funny, it's sad, but most of all, it's relatable, and it tells a true story. So, thank you.